Howdy ho ho, my good humans. Back at you. As you see, not much changing in way of our appearance as we record these things in one go, chop them up and release them throughout the week. And today we are going to pivot to our topic. We're wanting to close off each week. We have our rambling reviews. We have our what the hell did I call our news thing?
I don't, I don't
Whatever
remember.
the hell, whatever the hell. News Weekly, something News Week, games news, gaming news weekly. I think is the name of our weekly gaming news show.
As you can see, we're so professional.
Very
What you
professional.
come here for?
The world's greatest promoter here. But yeah, so we wanted to last week we had a 2 hour news segment. And so we cut off the topic. We didn't do our topic last week, but thankfully, Jeffrey hit me up wanting to collab, so we ended up doing the April through June discussion. Oh, we actually know because you and I had the game of the year
Yeah.
discussion from like a couple weeks ago that I never got around to editing. So actually, we had two kind of topics. Anyways, my brain is
You're all spoiled for content.
yeah. That was a big week of content. But Loon actually he hit me with this topic of preservation today. And I'm kind of gonna let him take over the reins and just steer this conversation where he wishes, and I'll pick up as best as I can because I think we both are in a similar camp on preservation. I'll just assume that everybody watching this hopefully is in favor of preserving
Digital
this.
only, right?
Which I'm fine, and I guess we can start there. Is like I don't even think that digital only necessarily caps off preservation entirely. There's just a means of doing digital only releases that can 1000% ensure that they will not be preserved for the future with, DRM and constant check-ins, internet check-ins and stuff like that. So Loon, you take it where you wish, brother. I'll piggyback off what you have to say.
Yeah, it's something we've touched on a few times, and the reason it kind of like a light bulb went off in my head as like I know this is never going to happen, and these are all hypothetical things and wishful thinking and stuff. But I thought it'd be like an interesting to see if like other people gauge the idea and thought it'd be cool. But so I was sitting there thinking, we have as an example, Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. It's so damn good, and it's so important to me and so near and dear to my heart. But if they ever cut off the internet support for that game, all I'm going to have access to is that 1.0 release, and it's unplayable. I can't play on anything other than the easiest difficulty because all it lets you do is basic attack.
Hmm.
And even then it has like performance issues and stuff. So it got me thinking of like ways that people have like presented forward. And I don't even know if this is like even a thing that could happen, but I thought it was a really cool idea. And that would be like an adaptive disc. So you would purchase the disc like you would normally. And this does only kind of work if you have like an internet connection, but it's a really cool idea. Hear me out. And it helps preserve it because like you think of all the patches, like you put the disc in and then all it's reading is that 1.0, whatever was initially printed on that disc. You get patches down the line that you have to download off the internet. What if it would then take that information and permanently store it on the disk, overwrite them files, and then that is the new base, so that you could then take that disk out, cut the internet off, and it put it back in, and that's the patched version on a brand new
Yeah.
console. You don't need to then have access to the stuff like that, and that would heavily bridge the gap of preservation because you would have these things where like it's in its best state because you think now like imagine you're just getting into gaming and you don't have the greatest internet and stuff. You see people raving about Cyberpunk. You then pick up Cyberpunk, but you're playing the 1.0 version if you have no internet. So it's a completely different game. So you're sitting there thinking, how is this being received so well? this is god awful.
So I'm guessing it
So
would have to be some situation where through the disc would like trigger some response in whichever storefront, say it's Cyberpunk, for instance, it would CDPR would get some sort of trigger and you would be able to download a file from either their website or whatever the means of getting the file to be able to essentially print that to the disk to have the late 2.0 or whatever the latest
yeah,
update is to have that on your disk that you bought on day one. Because the only thing I was thinking is like kind of in a way it would be like burning a CD, right? And
yeah, in a way, but you got to think, and that's what I mean. I don't know the 100% technicalities of it,
of
but
course,
it's an entire like just a proof of concept and an idea and just a fun idea at that. But like you obviously these files exist, you download a patch, and then it replaces them. It doesn't keep them things. It tweaks it and stuff like that. So then allowing that to be permanently stored on the disk. Obviously, they this is the thing like storage issues and stuff like that. Maybe because you think like Baldur's Gate freeze on free disks and stuff like that. So these would have to be beefy ass disks. But I like if if it was something that could be an additional thing, because what I put down is like if you buy a season pass and DLC, imagine just being able to you've purchased that and you can just put that on the disc as well. Like it's a complete edition, like a Game of the Year edition. You don't need to go buy that Game of the Year edition. You would have that Game of the Year edition kind of thing.
yeah. Well, and if I'm not mistaken, updates essentially override the original base build, correct? So like say a 2.0 it the reason that you don't have to fully install the base plus the 2.0, you just install the base over the or you just install the 2.0 over the base. So like the base game would still exist and then the updates would kind of like say it's 10 gigabytes, 20 gigabytes of updates, but the base game is 100. You don't download a new 120. You just download the base 100 plus 20 that was added on, correct? That's how updates work, if I'm not
I
mistaken.
think so. It depends as well. Sometimes you have to re-download the whole thing. I've had
Okay.
instances of that on Xbox, but yeah, you just need a big ass storage of a disk. And
Have you
the thing, sorry.
have you seen these like crazy? It's like some theory that there's like this 500,000 gigabyte disk or some shit that they're trying to hold on. I'll try to send you a link. It's I don't know if it's even possible. I saw a headline of it, but go ahead.
But no, like this isn't obviously something that could be rolled out tomorrow. This would be something to look at as a means to, yeah, preserve things for the future. Because you think 10, 15 years ago, it was incomprehensible to think that you'd have a terabyte hard drive in a console. That just was unfathomable. You just wouldn't. It was just like, okay, yeah, we're fine with like 4 GB hard drives at launch of an Xbox 360. That's how it is.
Yeah.
So a way of combating it would be that as like a cool, unique solution, I suppose. One that I've never heard of tossed around,
Yeah,
probably
it
because I've overlooked something very crucial.
I found it. It was I knew I saw it pop up on YouTube. It was John Campia, who's a movie critic. And it says, could this 200K gigabyte disk save physical media? It's this optical disk that scientists just developed that could replace the current Blu-rays that hold a 100 gigabyte limit. I feel like that has to be impossible. Just I have no idea, but I haven't researched it a ton. But it is I mean the idea of even when you see what Baldur's Gate 3 is doing, where it's like okay, we know that our base game was rough at launch, of course. Like it's a humongous RPG that was in early access for centuries, and now after its final release, it took a little bit even then to get it up to snuff and be fully polished, especially Act 3 supposedly. So they waited a bit and now they're putting it out on physical disc and the physical player is going to get that benefit of playing the best version of the game. And just, as the broader topic of preservation, like to me, that's a fine route to go.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like if I, of course, day one being able to go in and buy it, and the ideal world is that damn publishers don't release busted ass games and that your
yeah,
disc just works. And like for the most part, that's something that there's a big misconception about with physical media, especially PlayStation 5 games, is people think that, that the base disc just doesn't play anything and that it's all, updates and that it's like, dude, I think
it's thanks to
80%.
Xbox.
Right.
They played that card. There's a quite a few games that are just 80 megabytes worth of content on a disk because it pulls the rest of it from the thing, and that's bad.
It's awful.
That shouldn't be even legal to do that.
Well,
In all
and it,
honesty,
no, it absolutely shouldn't. You're paying for a product. The product should be, it is kind of crazy that you can buy a disc and like, you know, 80% of the game is something that you get a week, 2 week, 3 weeks, months later in the case of Cyberpunk. Like that's wild. It really, I agree, kind of should be illegal. But on the other hand, the constant dooming and glooming about, the state of physical media, which it is not in the best state, of course. We're evolving, things are becoming more and more digitized and instant access and, the fast foodification of gaming. But the if you're a PlayStation 5 owner or if you're a Switch owner, you're not in a bad spot for physical media. You're just not. Like 80% of my PlayStation 5 collection plays offline. 80%. I can boot up, no doubt, no patch, no download. It might not be the best version of the game, which to your point, like your idea of this adaptive disc would ensure you get the best version of the game. But yeah, you can play base versions of games still to this day in 2024 on the PlayStation 5. I really hate that that has
yep,
become like this blind spot for a lot of people who complain about modern day gaming.
yeah, it's the things of the very, very, very rare case scenarios then just get pushed as the standard as like, oh well, all physical media is like that. And it's like, no, not even Xbox does that. They've got
Yeah.
woeful uh preservation means for discs and stuff. Like even Xbox, it's a rare thing. I can't even think of the last game that did that, but I know that there have been, in my experience, about 5 or 6 games in my collection that they're just worthless as a preservation tool because
I
it is
think
just a.
Halo Infinite was, and that's first party.
I didn't purchase that. I don't believe. I think I got that Game Pass.
Yeah.
I can't speak on that,
Yeah, because I
but that
remember,
wouldn't surprise me.
yeah, it's crazy. I remember people freaking out. I think Redfall might have been the same exact thing. It's
I
it's
definitely
wild.
didn't buy that.
No, but we're getting to the point now, even with PS5, and I'm singing its praises there. But like we talked about earlier, this kind of a pivoting topic as we talked about the Series X going all digital with just the same exact console without a disk drive, which is bizarre. But um, even with the PlayStation 5 mid-gen refresh, there's a DRM startup that is act 100% DRM, where you have to log into the internet just to get this thing to run. That is inherently DRM.
Yep.
And so you are seeing the tides begin to shift that way. And it's, of course, super, super concerning. But at the same time, when you see companies like Limited Run and Special Reserve and I am 8-Bit, and, these companies are massively profitable. And it's like, it feels like a yin and a yang, or it's like, what something is obviously this is still working. Obviously,
Mm,
there's still a market for this, but of course, obviously, at the same time, we're so beholden to these console manufacturers, and that's the real problem. Where it's like if PlayStation, Microsoft, Nintendo, because we know they want to get rid of physical media, they lose profit off of physical media. So but we're so beholden to them. Whenever they flip the switch, that's when the lights go off, and that's when physical media is 100% dead for in the gaming space. And that, I guess, that's the really scary point. So it kind of feels like, does anyone actually care to keep it around in gaming?
Um, it depends because you see, Nintendo definitely embraces it, but they're so quick as well to shut things off. Like of all the three of them, PlayStation I think announced the PS3 store was closing. Sony fans absolutely raged, and they were like, "Oh, okay, yeah, we won't do that then.
Yeah.
We'll roll that back." And I think the grumbling for the 360 was kind of the same way, and they ended up pushing the date back. But Nintendo just stuck to it. They were like, it was closing. And people were like, we don't want it to close. And they were like, so?
Yeah.
Because they know that they are very happy with just repackaging and reselling the games again for the next generation. They've done it year on year on year. So, but they at least like of the three heavily embrace physical much more, but that's because it's on a cartridge. And a lot of their games don't require as much data because something that made me laugh was seeing that I think Assassin's Creed, the Ezio collection, was on Switch, but you only get Assassin's Creed 2 on the cartridge. The other two games are download codes. So they themselves are already starting the trend as well. I'm sure they've done it before that, but that was the I saw that the other day and that made me laugh. It was like, even Nintendo's stumbling.
Well, that's Ubisoft.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you
First
would
party
think, yeah,
Nintendo doesn't do any of that shit.
but then if they truly did, were like bang on, like it needs to have a cartridge to be on the system, they would be like, put free cartridges in there.
Yeah. Yeah, for
So
sure.
they're happy to let it slide. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to I guess it's really hard to regulate it because like you said, there's nothing in terms of there's no like legal precedent for this yet. And it feels like we're such a vocal minority, people who prefer physical media, and we scream to the mountaintops every time one of these companies fucks us around, but like it seems like nobody hears us. We're screaming in the forest, you know what I mean? Like nobody hears it.
well, you think of every year that passes, a brand new generation of people who pick up games walks into the eco space, and all of these younger generations, a lot of them have never touched physical media. So to them, it's a completely foreign concept. It would be like when iTunes was taking off, and you had your grandparents being like, "Man, you need to buy vinyls, guys." It's like, why?
Yeah.
It's so much more and it is, it's just the thing, it's so much more convenient to consume it at the press of a button than walk all the way down to the store, hope that they have the copy of that, get that copy, and then bring it back and put it into the device and stuff. And then what if it gets damaged? Then you don't have all these other factors that they tally up as risks, I suppose.
Well, it's like, I think that physical media, without a shadow of a doubt, in the game space will last through the Switch 2. There's not even, I mean, like, not even the mildest doubt in my mind that the Switch 2 will support physical media all through its life cycle. So we're talking another 6, 7 years there. I think the PlayStation 6 will have a detachable disc drive. I don't think the next Xbox will, but I think that you're still looking at a good 15-year run with physical media, and that's great. And I think it could even last beyond that. Of course, the preferable way of going about this is the PlayStation 3 route. You know, the OG PlayStation 3, where you pay a premium, but you get something that is, I mean, it is the absolute pinnacle of preservation. It is, you put your PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 discs into this thing. It plays, I think there's a handful that it doesn't play. It plays 90% of that content, and there's no download required for any of that shit. Like it plays the disc.
As it
And
should be.
and you know there's a market for that. There's still a market for like I really honest to God think I would pay $1,000. I think I'd pay $1,000 for a PlayStation 5 version of that or an Xbox Series. Well, maybe not Series because of the DRM shit, but like if I could get a non DRM version of that, I really think I'd pay $1,000 for it. So there's a market of people willing to give a
I
lot of
would
money for it.
one step that further as long as I can still un the achievement system and trophy system is also tied into that. I would,
Yeah,
because that's a major part for me.
right.
And that's what I mean. It's so damn annoying because I think PlayStation 5 still does it. PlayStation 4 you can earn trophies offline. You can't do that on a Series X.
Oh, really?
No, you couldn't do it on an Xbox One either.
Wow.
You go to where it is and it's not there. All it does is if you meet that requirement on the console itself, it stores that information so that when you go online, it syncs to that server and then gives you recognition for it. And that's awesome for me.
That that makes me think, about because with Game Pass being, I look at something like Game Pass and man, the idea whenever PlayStation rolled out that premium for their collection, their whatever they call it, the classic collection or
The
whatever they
classic
call it.
collection, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, dude, this could be the future of preservation. And I know it's not ownership. I get that. I totally get that. But I guess that's another thing is like where is the line between ownership and preservation? Do you have to have full ownership for it to be preserved, or is just the fact that it's accessible, is that being preserved? Is that inherently
Well,
preservation?
the thing that I think of is if they cut them servers off, you can't buy that game, right?
Right, yeah,
That
that's true.
classic, so that's not preserving it at all.
Yeah,
Um, and that's the whole crux of like if anything is solely tied to a digital thing, it will never ever be 100% preservable. More
right.
so than it can be. Like I get it, people have like countered with the logic of discs degrade over time. In 100 years' time, these I don't give a crap about 100 years' time. I'm not going to be here in 100 years' time. I want
Yeah,
to know that like this is for me, and I get that it's a selfish preservation. Me as the individual, I want to boot these things up and know that I can do that in 30, 40 years. As long as me, the individual, looks after that hardware, cleans it, puts the new thermal paste on it and stuff like that, and gives it the love and everything, and I preserve them discs and do the same for that. I want to know that they will work. That is what is important to me.
yeah. And it like the whole disc rot like that's so overblown to like the wildest degree. I mean, maybe some old cartridge stuff.
Even
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 then, like,
even original discs for certain stuff 30 years ago still works. So what
oh,
what are you guys on about? Like, and that's you're talking about older hardware,
yeah, all of my PlayStation 1 shit works. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Dreamcast, and all of this, and yeah,
yeah, 100%. But I guess, tying back to that idea of the rental service thing, it, this is where it gets tricky because ownership, you can own things digitally, technically, and which there's so many problems there as well, where we've seen purchases just straight up be pulled. But so, what do you think about? Because I think because that's the thing. Are we looking at this as who we are and what we prefer, or are we looking at this as realists? You know what I mean? Like in a real world 10, 20-year timeline, we're gonna have to really realistically think about what preservation looks like for that time, 20 years in the future, 2040. And I don't think it's through physical media. I think, for previous generations, for sure, of course. But like,
the
we
the steps that they've put in place bar that from being the same
exactly.
for every other previous generation. And they are putting every year that passes, they're putting a higher and higher barrier each and every year. So the fully like realistic way of preservation is having it have a PC port, and it will just get pirated. That is it. And like, I don't like piracy, like, at all. It's not something that I've ever done myself. But at the same time, like, you're forcing the people who actually want, like, these games get pulled. They have, even the ones that have these games back in the day of like physical media, you're seeing them listed for like $800 on eBay, 900,000, 10. It goes up and up and up, and it's only going to get even more and more up and up and up. The more the years go on, the more these will degrade because somebody will pick it up. They may end up breaking it. That's one less copy of that. So I can fully empathize with the people that are like, why am I going to pay 1,000 when I can just boot up a PC and emulate it? And it's 95% the same experience.
Yeah. I think without a doubt, emulation is the only real key to preserving gaming for 20 years time. Like emulation is going to have to be the key. And it's it sucks because of course, like I've never emulated anything either. I'm not a PC guy. And I mean, you can do all the dumb shit to go through and emulate on. I get it.
Yeah,
I
if
get it.
you're a whiz, you can get it through like the consoles and stuff through mods and crazy stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
But you
But
can't do that with modern consoles. That's another thing that they've also probably limited with this like iron grip of DRM.
yeah.
They don't let you touch anything.
Well, I think the Series X actually for a while was really good about it. Like you could go in and you could emulate and you had like the fucking Dolphin emulator running on there was some pretty cool shit that they had go. I think they put the
But
kibosh
they
on
don't
that,
want people doing that
of
because
course.
the PlayStation also shut it down, I believe, in the early builds of because you this why you see people who list these up are like this one like it is this patch this works on it and it never touched the internet again. So you guys can do whatever you want with this.
Yeah,
So it's like a that's crazy in itself. That's like a piece of history frozen in time.
right. Well, and it's because it's a bummer, it's the idea that like I can't play the original version of Resident Evil 2 on my PlayStation 5, but I can emulate it for free and I have a copy sitting there. It's like this makes no damn sense, dude. Who do I pay? Who do I pay? Like I want to pay somebody so I can legally play this damn thing, and there's nobody to pay. It
Exactly. You own it and you're willing to drop money to actually own it. Like the a thing I could see maybe that's just popped into my mind is like an extra layer of service to your subscription. So PlayStation or Xbox, so you put in an original Xbox disc, it reads that it's that disc, and because obviously someone's had to put in the effort to get this emulation software to work, you'll then charge that like what $8 a month extra on your thing. Would you pay
yeah,
that? I would pay that.
absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
then to keep it in the realms and boundaries of reality and stuff, you then it's probably never going to happen because of the licensing issues.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
So much licensing issues, man.
That's the thing about the damn PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. And like those that is the path, man. And I know it will never happen again, but that's the only path to like because PlayStation 3 is the disc rot is so fucking stupid. The idea that that is brought up in conversation so frequently is beyond dumb. The real conversation you want to have is console damage. Is the fact that you're not going to be able to access these consoles in 50 years with finding new working versions of an original PlayStation 3 in 2050. That's much more realistic than your disc rot. You know what I mean? Like my PlayStation 3 is running into issues right now, and I barely run that thing. I've treated it, cared for it, cleaned it. Like it's running into issues now.
Stroked it.
It's
Come on, man, just run it one last time. I want to play Alpha Protocol, please.
but it's true though. It's like that's really where preservation issues stem from with the console space more than the disk rot is the actual hardware. The software is going to be fine. The
Mm,
hardware is really where the issue is. And so I
absolutely.
if we had every 5 year, every 10 years, just this random occurrence where it's like, oh, PS7, here's you $1,000 version and it plays everything. PS6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Xbox fucking Z, it plays X, Y, all the damn one 360 original. Like, I think that you're really gonna have to pay a premium, but I feel like that could be some solution. I don't think they give a shit enough to really iron it out. But I do I on
Yeah, either do the massive upfront cost or
yes.
finance it, like how we touched upon with the tying it in with the mobile network thing that we were talking about in with Mundane and stuff.
Yeah,
And if they stopped paying it to stop people from like gaming the system, then you just cut that service off. You
totally.
didn't pay this bill, it gets cut off, and you're just back to having a normal console. And they'll take whatever legal action they have to for you not paying it and quote unquote stealing the device and stuff like that,
I
like
know
you
it'll
would with a phone.
absolutely. Yeah, I know it'll never happen. Well, that part I could see happening. I know it'll never happen with this, fully backwards compatible new console again. That PlayStation 3 is the last of like
Mm.
a really really great time to be a physical media consumer, but dude, you saw with the rise of those classic systems like the NES Classic, Saturn Classic, yada yada yada, Dreamcast. I think there was a Dreamcast, but you saw the rise of the no, there wasn't a Dreamcast. You saw the rise of these
It was a
systems.
PlayStation
PS1,
Classic.
yeah.
Yeah.
You saw the rise of these little consoles come out, and they had real support for them. I and people paid good, like they weren't cheap for what they were
No.
offering. And I legit think if you had that technology in place, even if it was just a side initiative where you did it once every 10 years as like an update, I legit think every 10 years you could have a real sizable market of people paying $1,000 every 10 years for this thing. And I'm talking like, I don't know about, obviously it's not going to be 100 million like the PlayStation 4, but I really think 20 million people. I legit 15, 20 million people.
My brain just keeps going off of like new
Let's get it.
the PlayStation Classic thing, the thing that came with preloaded games. They clearly had a way of doing that. So maybe that would be also a realistic approach. And you vote on the games. That would be a really cool thing. So like I know it's the lesser of the positive things, like you won't get everything, but if you were to like actually put up a community poll and be like, right, we'll redo the PS3 or whatever and we'll load 30 games on it. What are the 30 games that you would want to see? And they would poll it and stuff like that, and then whatever, and that would come loaded straight on the console.
But then you have to deal with fucking publisher,
But they've already
goofball.
done that. They have already done that with the PlayStation 1, the classic thing that had them games pre. I know it's not the most ideal thing, but that's the one thing I could see being like the most realistic thing is like
Oh
another one,
yeah.
an update. Yeah, where
Like
it
it
had like Persona on it and it had whatever the one of the Metal Gears and stuff like that. So something like that, but you have a say in it instead of them, and then they can be like, okay, 29, number 29 out of 30. We've really tried to get it on. We couldn't, so we'll just go with 31. I'm sorry, guys, blah, 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 and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, I could definitely see a continuation of those classic consoles. I honestly could see Sony working with, these different emulators to to ensure that there's more content on that classic collection if they can get the publishers to, sign off on it to allow those emulators to be run on the I think this is a big time publisher issue more than it is a Microsoft or PlayStation or, console manufacturer issue. I think
It's
these
because they
public
have to jump through so many hoops, man. It's so many hoops of making sure that you still have the source code. You still, you need to be going through and touching on all the licenses that you originally had to get, renewing them licenses and stuff like that? Or do you go, they have to go down the route of like what the definitive edition for GTA did, where they cut massive parts of like the iconic songs because they just couldn't come to an agreement.
But I do, if we could, I mean, this is, we could go on forever with this, but I think the way around that, the way to circumvent that is for some form of legal action to be taken place to ensure that emulation is at some point more. But yeah, it's not going to happen because what I'm thinking is like if you can go to say the PlayStation, like what Phil Spencer was talking about with these open borders of like Steam, being able to
Mhm.
access Steam on your Xbox, play Steam games on your Xbox. I mean, there's thousands of retro games on Steam and Epic and GOG, and like you can access all of these titles. And if you could play them on your console and buy them and be able to have them downloaded natively, great, fine. But if you were in some crazy scenario able to access emulation through your console and have a legal means where like say there's a middleman percent where the publisher gets some percentage of like say PlayStation Plus the collection went up to $25 a month, and because they allowed for this emulation to be run through the PlayStation Plus premium collection, and then but yeah, I'm going in circles because then how are you gonna figure out which publisher gets what percent? Would it be based off of
Yeah,
downloads and all that?
that's what I mean. They just run into these roadblocks and stuff. The more you open up the can of worms, you see that there's more worms in that can than you thought.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Emulation will probably just always be illegal and fucking yeah, that's a bummer, but it is what it is.
I mean, is it technically illegal if they cut entire like support for it?
Yeah, I believe. I mean, you're never gonna get in trouble, but yeah,
Damn, I didn't know it was like technically illegal and stuff. I thought like the 360 going offline, for instance. I thought that's like a free playing field, as it were. Once they Microsoft themselves cut support, they have no obligation to support the device. Them games aren't being sold anymore,
let's
so
see.
that's not. But yeah, I'm not like a lawyer and stuff.
Well, yeah, it says like if you own the game, you can own the ROM and you can back it up. That's not illegal. It, it's a big gray area. It's not the FBI is never gonna, you know, kick your damn door
you
in.
you turn on the news and you become the FBI's number one most. This guy's been
Jesus.
emulating Super Mario Bros.
And
Nintendo
it
on his head.
it seems like publishers don't even really go after emulators or, the companies who put these emulators up unless it's like the company who did they were emulating Switch games. It's like,
You
what are you
can't do it while it's
doing?
active
It's
and it's
so
like in
goofy.
its prime. Like that's really stupid. But yeah, that's what I mean. Like that's why I didn't think it was like technically illegal because you never see them because they go after some petty stuff. Like Nintendo's gone and hunted down like tournaments and stuff for like Smash Brothers, make sure that they're not making money off of that and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
And I mean, they shut down that damn, I think it was Yuzu or whatever. They shut down that emulator a couple weeks ago. Nintendo put the kibosh on that emulator. Like, dude, you can't
yeah.
emulate Switch. And they had to pay him like $2 million. Like, it was a pretty legit damn issue. But Nintendo doesn't do that for the older emulators like the Dolphin and I'm not even I've never emulated a game in my life. I have no interest in emulating games whatsoever unless, it does come to that point where it's like there are
When it's the only
absolutely
option. Yeah.
yeah, because I have my PlayStation 3. Like I said, I'm running into issues with it. I have my 360. It's running fine. I can play the games in my collection. Every game in my collection that I have some way to play it. But like it would sure as hell be nice just to pop it into the new console that I have hooked up and just
Yeah.
one and like we want to pay for it. And then,
Yeah.
dude, we could go on with this forever, but it's like some of the most iconic games ever. You cannot play it. It's beyond baffling that like generation defining titles are inaccessible. Like,
Well, like the one that immediately springs to mind. Well, two even, should I say? You have one trapped on the PS3, one trapped. I think you can play it through backwards compatibility, but like PS4 and that Metal Gear Solid 4 is trapped on that PS3. It's
yeah,
people aren't even sure if that's going to get ported with that second volume thing that's being leaked. Like they want it and they hope, but they don't know because there's so much Sony marketing and stuff like that ingrained in the game. It may be just a thing that only gets ported to PlayStation, which will piss people off big time, especially myself.
yeah.
And Bloodborne is like a massive like it's not of all the things that they keep porting to PC, they just won't touch Bloodborne, and I don't understand why.
Yeah.
I have no idea. It's one of the most successful games on the PlayStation 4. And every time they're announcing something, it's more and more further away from it. And it just doesn't make any sense. It's like they don't want anyone to access it unless you're on a PlayStation.
I will say I find it funny the Bloodborne thing. Like, I remember when Horizon Zero Dawn was it was like rumored that it was getting remastered, and people were up in arms, furious about Horizon Zero Dawn being remastered. People were furious about The Last of Us being remastered. And then like Bloodborne, everybody wants Bloodborne to be remastered. It's like
Because it's stuck at 30.
I get that. I get that. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I get it on a technical
It's why
issue.
they're teeth and clawing it. They want it on PC because it's like this is like the limited version. You are restricting it. It's holding it back. This is already a great game.
Yeah.
It could
It,
be monstrous with bugs, like not bugs, mods, sorry.
yeah. It is just it's always funny. Like there is always a level of I I don't know. There is always a level of from soft anything from soft related, it is not it just doesn't get any sort of same reception as the same exact thing happening with a different game or a different company. You know, like it could be the
A
same,
rabid.
yeah. It could be the same exact scenario where a game stuck at 30, people wanted it 60. It came out the exact same year as Bloodborne, and then it gets announced for a remaster with 60, and people are like, ah, da, 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 da. But that damn Bloodborne. But it is. I do get where people are coming from on a technical level. But yeah, man, I know we didn't come to a full-on answer. The adaptive disc thing, I think, is fucking brilliant. Um, it's we're in a horrible state for preservation for for gaming without a doubt. And I think it's going to get much, much worse with time. Um, but I while we're in the here and now, I will say just appreciate the fact that you do still have your Switch, you do still have your PlayStation 5, at least the base version. Don't get the damn mid-gen refresh, but you do have two damn consoles in 2024 that are fully supporting physical media in a true form. And like that's for
No.
the for now, for now. I will guarantee you this right now. If I'm wrong, you can whatever. I will guarantee you until 2030 that the Switch 2, everything, every big AAA title you get for the Switch 2, you will be able to access on a cartridge or
No, I think I'm
some
with you.
physical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
So yeah, it's an interesting conversation for sure, and we could go a million different directions on it. Are you good with this topic? Anything else you wanted to hit on?
no, I'm just interesting into seeing people finding flaws in my logic.
Dude.
I'm really intrigued. Like I want people like I think it's a really cool. Like I said, I've never really heard anyone bring it to the table, and hopefully somebody who's got that deeper knowledge of like discs and how they work and stuff like that could like educate me and be like, well, this is why, dummy, you can't do that. It's just like, ah, well, there you go then. That's
Yeah.
why that's why Big Phil didn't do that. I
No,
get you.
listen. I'm not a technical wizard either. I think it's a damn great idea. I would love to see something like that implemented. And I mean, you can burn CDs and shit and pull content off of,
Mm.
the computer onto your CD. Like so there's a I see the rationale 100% behind your logic, but once again, like you, I'm not the most technically proficient human on the planet, so I really have no idea. But
Yeah,
it's
just one further like, and what would you pay for that? Would you be willing to pay a higher price
yeah,
if that like what would be the ceiling of that?
I'd go $100 a game. Yeah, yeah, I
I would probably go higher than that because they're already pushing. You're talking Ubisoft have the goal to say 130 for their full complete edition and stuff. I think I'd go as far as 130, not for every game. That would fucking bankrupt me.
yeah,
But for like the things that I want, this is the thing, it's the things that I want to preserve, the things like an Elden Ring and stuff like that. Things that I know that are special. I think that would be a really cool option to give.
yeah. I mean, base games, the max for a base game in the US is at 70 right now. So like for just the disc, the standard version of the game. So a $30 increase on that, I would be willing to do that for certain games. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you, Loon. I had a conversation with the manager of my GameStop the other day, and we were talking about Grand Theft Auto 6. And I listen, I'm not I hate to admit this, but I'm not gonna lie to y'all. If Grand Theft Auto 6 launched tomorrow without, if it launched tomorrow at $100, just the base game, I would be in line with my $100 bill for just a base game of Grand Theft Auto 6 for $100, without a doubt. And yeah, we both came to the same conclusion that that's probably the only company we would do that for. A Red Dead 3, a GTA 6, because it's like there's nothing on that level. You know what I mean? It's the craziest level of production value and world, but like
Mm.
it's insane. It's the most expensive games ever created. So it's like there are certain games that warrant an increase in price, but we just got a damn increase in price up from 60 to 70. So
Stop alluring them.
but it's like if I would pay $100 for GTA 6, there are definitely other games I'd pay a hundred for if I could have some sort of way to ensure that it was preserved over time. But you know what? I'm actually going to backtrack on that. No, fuck all that. Release the game when it's in a playable state, and
Yeah,
don't put do what do what Larian is doing. If
yeah.
it's dog shit at launch, which Baldur's Gate 3 wasn't dog shit at launch, but if it's dog shit at launch, digital only. They get the dog shit at launch, and then whenever it's ready to go and it's good to go, you put it on a physical disc. Preserve the good shit. G- Give the scraps to the digital market.
Yep. No, that yeah, and that's the more realistic, and that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
So we were just, we were firing off things that maybe weren't being touched on. But yeah, I'm fully in support of that. I really like what Larian did. I think I'm in the same boat as you. I put my order in.
Yeah, of course.
It's on its way whenever they decide to give me it. And as long as it's announced like that, that has to be the new standard.
Yes.
And it can't be announcing it months down the line. Just be 100% transparent because I think you, like me, would double dip. I would happily double dip and support things that I'm very, very, very excited for, like a Baldur's Gate 3, where I'll be like, okay, because I've done that. I own the digital version of Baldur's Gate 3 so that I could play it day and date because I knew that it was getting a physical copy.
Yeah. See, I won't do it with AAA. I'll do it with indie. For AAA, it is kind of a thing for me where it's like if you wanted to get this out physically, you could. Larian's a little bit different. Larian's an interesting one because they are technically an independent company. You know, if they wanted to, it could have been done. They had real money backing them, but in a situation with a AAA publisher, I'm probably not double dipping. I'll wait for the physical release, and I'm not paying $70 for a digital game. That is the one thing I'll stand firm on, not paying $70 for a digital game. But I know I'm definitely in the minority on that opinion. But I think that we're in the same boat in the sense of when Alan Wake 2, it's gonna get a physical. It's gonna get a physical copy. That it's just they're leaving
I,
so
I,
much money on the
I
table.
don't know. It's been so long.
Yeah.
Something must it should have surfaced by now, even if it was just like a some guy leaking, like, yeah, we heard it in passing conversation that at some point this is getting a physical. It's been nothing but radio silence. Like,
I,
what on earth is going on? How are you not looking at what Larian did with that and how successful that was and how much buzz that got? How are you not
yeah.
being like, there's no way that that's still shifting an absurd amount of copies month on month,
It
digital
never
only.
did.
Exactly. So it needs to be, it's got to be drying up. You're only tapping in like sales figures of
Yeah.
like cut down price. So why not just roll it again? You're going to charge full price for that damn physical.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I I I I don't know this for certain, but I almost with all certainty say that's an Epic thing. I think if this was
Yeah,
Remedy and Remedy alone, that would be,
it
phys
it is. It has to. That every other release, even Quantum Break, got a damn physical.
yeah.
Like this is what I mean. Like the control, both it got physicals for both versions. They
Yeah.
could have only done a digital only for that refresh thing, but they didn't. Alan Wake, Alan Wake remastered got that's something that probably shouldn't have even got like a physical when you think about it. Like that definitely probably didn't ship any copies really
I would
in
assume not.
comparison to how many would rather just buy it digitally.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Epic published the Alan Wake remaster too, which that's the weird thing. So
If
maybe
they did, that's crazy.
maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe this damn thing, maybe we're not gonna get a damn Alan Wake 2.
Maybe they're looking at it as it bombed so hard that they think that it's solely to do with the game, and are
Which is
like, but yeah, that well, we say that's probably tone deaf and stupid, but you look at what bloody Warner Brothers are doing right now, and they're
uh,
like, we're thinking of doing a Hogwarts too, but it has to have live service elements. It's just like you morons, you're absolute goddamn morons. Just stop.
Jesus.
It outsold Call of Duty last year. Do you know why? Because it was just a single player game. Just stop. Just stop.
Well, dude, and also like I don't know if you looked at the Insomniac leaks, but God of War 2018 I think was 60-40 split in favor of physical over digital. The players who bought God of War 2018, I think 60% bought it physically. And I think there was even numbers for like Miles Morales and more recent games that were closer to a 50-50 split. Yes, we get it the majority of the money is made digitally. But that's because you're also counting microtransactions from Fortnite and Call of Duty into that
Hmm.
overall currency, the overall revenue that's being generated from gaming each year. No shit, most money is made digitally. But single player, high quality games, people still buy those physically in droves. So, yeah, Remedy, get your shit together. Get us a copy of Alan Wake 2 and
Epic, get your shit together.
yeah, epic, right. Well, we'll support the damn thing. We'll give you
Yep.
me. We know you ain't fucking you ain't moving those units too well. We'll help you move
I'll
a
pay
few.
for Sam Lake's new dancing shoes if you just give me the physical.
Hey, those things might cost a penny, man. Same legs fresh as hell. But man, I appreciate this topic. It was fun. And we will be back next week with more reviews, more news, and more topics to discuss with you good people. Hope y'all are having a good week. And take it easy. Loon, you have any parting words for the good folks?
Hopefully they enjoyed it, and yeah, obviously the news will be shorter this week, and just let us know how that feels. Would they prefer shorter news, longer news?
Yeah. I, the news is such a tricky thing because it's like we can't really do anything about it one way or the other. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I mean, obviously we could trim some stories if we're like not so sure about it, but then there's a week like last week where almost everything on that docket was heavy hitting news, like super, interesting shit. And and then this week there's absolutely nothing. So we'll just kind of go with the flow, but
Go with a
whichever,
wave. Yeah.
absolutely, whatever y'all prefer, we will happily make changes and pivots as we I don't know. My brain is out of words. Appreciate y'all for watching.
New
See.
Orleans brain or whatever you said.
Yeah, this is my New Orleans brain in full effect. We will see you guys next week. Take it easy. Have a good weekend. Like, subscribe, all that shit if you would like to. Appreciate y'all. See you soon. Goodbye.
See you later.